Dos. Uno.
Those.
Carlos.
What?
What?
Welcome to the
Three,
TowerCast podcast.
2, 1. De la O.
Welcome to the TowerCast podcast, the towering podcast for the towering filmmaker. I am joined by the rest of the panel, our special guest today. Before we get into introductions and start off, I want to say thank you for listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud,
Appreciate it.
Spotify. Yeah, thank you for supporting this right now while we're all still at home. It's
Yes.
fun to do, and I'm glad that we can have some listeners out there, keep the conversation going on filmmaking, and I'm Michael Dello. I'm going to be offering, I guess, the cinematographer perspective for the evening. We also are joined by none other than Carlos,
Hey, what's going on?
writer-director, and Castro, our actor of the hour. Hopefully
Just
hour
the
and a half.
actor. Just the actor. I don't do writing. I don't do nothing. Just the actor.
Just the actor. He has no other major experience to note on, but that's okay. Kick it off. And we have none other than Limon, cinematographer
What's up?
extraordinaire of El Paso, Juarez, and maybe somewhere else. I don't know.
Desde
Oh man,
Juarez.
he's been all
He's
over the
everywhere,
place,
right?
man. We're gonna be able to get into some awesome experiences. That Limon has told me just as a friend when we're shooting the shit and talking, and it's exciting to have you on the show, man. I know we haven't even been friends for that long, but since I've met you, we just clicked and we got into some crazy stories and different set experiences, and I want to hear all about them on the show so that our listeners and everybody can listen in on that. So we're happy to have you on the show, man. Big deal.
Oh no, thank you guys for inviting me. I think what you guys are doing is awesome, and let's see what can I say.
What can you offer?
Well, we're gonna dissect your life right now, man.
Well, before we get into like your story, Limon, I like to kick off kind of when we talk to guests that are friends, how we met and kind of how that happened and how that all went down and how we know you basically. And so I remember I got invited by Ramon Villa, shout out to Villa,
Shout out.
to be a guest director for his media production class. And interestingly enough, Limon, the day I met you was also the day I met Michael De La O, our trustee director of the podcast.
Nice.
Yeah, and I think he was saying that he met you that day as well. So we all just kind of met for the first time that day. And I remember I was a guest director on that thing, and I was nervous because it was my first time directing without my crew.
Mm-hmm.
So I obviously I have my shorthand of I know my DP or I know my sound guy or and this time was just me with a bunch of new people I'd never met, with the exception of Jonathan Gonzalez. I know he was there that day as well in the class, so I think he was the only person I knew, and obviously Via. And then again we met Jason that day too, so that was we're just meeting a lot of people, man. And I was a little nervous, and I got introduced. So the first people I got introduced to was you, Limon, and Jason, because we're out in the hallway waiting for Via to like introduce us to his class or whatever. So we're out in the hallway and we meet and we start talking about, hey, what have you done or what's been going on? And we had just won the 2-day challenge.
Oh, that's right.
I think you guys were like, oh yeah, man, we were there and we saw the film and congratulations. And I was like, oh dude, like that's awesome. And I think we talked about some of the films that you guys were a part of that were there too. And we just got to talking and just clicked. And then lo and behold, I discovered Limon is my DP for the day. And Jason is my first AD for the day. So it's like, the two main people I need to talk to are right here.
Nice.
So that was nice. It's like to be introduced to them before being introduced to the rest of the crew. And we got, I don't know what it was about that day, man, but I had this trust with Limon. Nos agarramos, like we just got that comfortability going. We started shooting the shit and talking, and I don't know if it's just a Mexican thing, man. Like you just andas con la raza y te estás yendo. Right? But we got into it, and I just had this trust, man. Like I told Limon, all right, man, the shot's gonna be this, and we should shoot on this lens, and it'll be a medium shot or whatever. And he's like, all right, yeah, gotcha, man. He set up the shot, show me the frame, and I always brag about this because I tell my crew, like, when I got back after that shoot, like I had my own monitor on set, which was a nice luxury that you don't always get. And I was just remember carrying my monitor and seeing the shot that Limon was composing, man. And this was on the fly, mind you, no storyboards, no pre-production. They asked us to come on set and just shoot, right?
Oh, wow.
Just do what we do. And Limon's composition of shots on the fly, man, was just absolutely beautiful. And I'll never forget that. And I remember telling Limon once we took off, like, hey, man, give me your info. And the funny thing about everything, I came back and was like so proud because I told Limon, I was telling these guys a story before we got on the air, Limon, but there was an actor missing. Like they just didn't show up. They just didn't show up to set. Like they casted somebody, the guy didn't show up.
No
Jason,
show.
as the AD, was freaking out trying to find somebody. And then Limon's like, hey, yo, you know what? Let me call my buddy Jerry. Let me see if he's doing it.
That's right.
He calls Jerry and he says, hey, yeah, my friend's on his way. He's 5 minutes away. And it's like, all right, cool. So, and I know you're also friends with Manuel, which was the lead actor that day. Urrutia, I think that's... Urueta. Manuel Urrueta. Fantastic actor. I think he does a great job. He was also on your film, which we're going to get to talk about a little later. But so basically both male actors were your buddies that just came on. And I know Jerry's kind of more of a filmmaker too. And Manuel does like set design and art design and all that too. So that'll be cool to talk about. But I just thought it was funny, man. Your buddy shows up, he saves the day, and we're able to shoot. And then I remember in between takes, we're just talking and we're shooting the shit and getting to know each other. You and your buddies and me. I remember you introducing me to your friends, to Manuel and to Jerry, and you're like, "Oh, this is Carlos. Hey, he's from Tower. He's from Tower." And then your friends, "Oh shit, he's from Tower." Yeah, he's from Tower. He's oh shit. Like I'm not bullshitting. and Limon's like, yeah, bro, this is Tower. This is the guy. Like these are the guys from Tower.
That's cool.
And then I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, oh shit, do we have a bad reputation? Like, are we?
Yeah.
Oh
like,
man, they know that we've been kicking orphans.
Yeah, that's what it is, you know. But it just freaked me out because I was like, oh, what does that mean? And then you're like, no, dude, like you guys are busy. You guys are always putting shit out and doing a bunch of films. And I was like, oh, dude, that warmed my heart and it meant a lot to me. So I came back to the crew and I was like, dude, like I had this experience with Limon and his friends and they knew about our films. And I was like my mind was blown. I was so grateful and so happy that people who are respected filmmakers around El Paso that we hadn't met yet are know about Tower, know about the work we're trying to do, man. So I was really grateful about that, Limon. And I came back to my crew to tell them that. So big deal for me, man. But I remember that's how we met, man. And since then, you and I have been getting together, going out to dinner, and just talking about projects and talking about stuff you're working on and I'm working on. And
do you ever invite Sandra?
I don't invite Sandra. I don't invite my wife because Limon, Limon will get jealous, and I don't want to do that to him. But no, we just get together and talk film, man, and we talk about the projects we're working on. And we even got to a point where we talked about a film that we might get to work on together and stuff like that. And always good conversation with the great Limon, man. So yeah, that's how we met, man. I don't know if you remember anything differently or anything you want to talk about in regards to that.
No. Yeah, I do remember that day. It was hot. It was like summer. Yeah, you know how summer here in El Paso is like crazy hot. Yep. Yeah, I do remember, and I totally know that you guys have been doing like a whole bunch of stuff, which is something that I really admire from you, you know, like from all the crew or the group of friends that you guys are, that you guys are just keeping it like consistency.
Yeah.
Of if it's not the podcast, you guys are having meetings. Yeah. I don't know. You told me like you guys have like a whole bunch of meetings, and that's and just to get to that point. Yeah. Of like consistency and organization, man, that's something. It's incredible. Like,
thank you, man.
No todos pueden.
Neta que no, eh?
No, it's hard. It's hard to do.
Yeah, so, Limon, how did this whole thing start with you, man? How did the fire get started with you?
Tell us about your filmmaking.
Yeah, man.
Your hero,
your style.
I don't know if I have a style yet, but
I'll do from the
you do, sure, dude. You do, but we'll talk about that. But how did this start, man? Yeah, how did falling in love with filmmaking and photography?
Well, I would say like my film production side of just like making films and shorts started like I would say like 3 years ago. Like,
oh shoot, barely.
Like, well, this is by me saying like just jumping into filmmaking.
Sure,
you know,
Oh, okay.
like just try to like just doing like films. Like I don't want to be. Of course, I do jobs on the side, like music videos.
Nice.
With people here in town, with Raúl Hernandez. You know, it's a small town and everyone knows like each other.
Yeah.
And you get to work with pretty much everyone.
To allude to that, the other
Shout out
day
to Raul,
I was texting Limon about, hey man, want to get you on the podcast. We're texting, and I had just been on Instagram or something, just looking at something, and he was like, hey, yeah, man, I'm on set right now. And I'm like, yeah, I know you're with Paco and Raul, so tell him I say what's up, because I saw you, like somebody posted it on Instagram.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, dude, I'll let him know you say what's up. That's just how it is. Yeah. We just
Yeah.
Cool.
So pretty much, but yeah, like, so the thing is that I graduated, like, let's say like 5 years ago from UTEP. I was on the digital media production degree back when we had like, I'm impressed that Ramon started like doing those workshops.
Yeah.
Where I met Carlos, because back when I was taking my
as
a student, we didn't have any of that. So
you know what? And it's funny, Limon, that you talk about that, because we were just talking about the other day how, like, I graduated barely 2018, and De La O is still in school. In fact, Castro and I think graduated like a semester apart.
Last summer,
yeah. So 2019. So we just graduated from the DMP program UTEP I'm in. De La O is still in the DMP program there at UTEP, and he's always telling us about like, oh yeah, man, like teachers are doing this, teachers are doing that, and we have these classes, and this professor's doing this, and we're like, dude, what the hell? Like, we didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
Just last year.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous of that, because we didn't have like any of that, like at all.
There was no film club when you were there?
No, there was no film club.
No way.
That's something we barely got, like the tail end of. Yeah, when we were there. Yeah.
Oh, that helped so much.
Yeah, so I think Ramon was like sort of like at the stage of like trying like to build it.
Trying to start that up, yeah.
But I think it just happened like within the next year.
Yeah, because
like
a few years back, I remember I was taking his intro class, and then he told us that he just started like a summer class, and like he had just done one year of it where he was able to get like a promo out and share it with us, but then like I think that was like the first year he did it. So then when I met you guys, it was like maybe the third year he was able to do it. And I mean, to me, it's only gotten better, you know, and like, I'm excited to kind of see what that develops, because at least on my end, that was super helpful meeting you guys and practicing and you know, seeing the different departments and all that stuff. That
it's impressive.
Later, you know?
No, it's impressive. Like, shout out to Via, and then we're gonna have him on the show at some point. I know I've been talking to him. So we're Via and Acosta and all these great professors that are really taking over the DMP program, and the set to me, I was super honored and super humbled, because when I went as a guest director, it was a set, man. It was a real set. I mean, it was ran like a real set, this student class, you know. Wow. I mean, to the point where you had PAs helping the director, the DP with you had ACs. De La O, if I'm not mistaken, you were running
pulling focus that day.
Pulling focus, so you were a second AC for Limon, or first AC. I mean, officially there was a script supervisor. They ran the set the way a set needs to be ran. And kudos to the UTEP DMP program. Kudos to VIA, because that's what filmmakers need. That's what filmmakers need to do. Yeah.
So that's why I'm jealous about it, and it's great that it's happening, and I can wait. Actually, this year I was impressed by the shorts that were screened at the Plaza Classic Film Festival.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the opportunity to see the El Paso Film Festival shorts, because all of these things that we're going through.
Yeah.
I don't have the Roku or the smart TV to see those stuff. So. That was the downside of it, but
you had a film in the festival, which we'll talk about. We'll talk about a little later. But at least you were involved on that front. So 3 years ago, you kind of dive into the filmmaking aspect of things. I have to guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, Limon, but I have to guess, or I have to think, and for those of you listening, I call him Limon. I think it's what everybody calls him. We just that's the rapport we have. But in case you're like, who are they? What's a Limon? What's going on here?
Cool, man, because nobody has that.
That's a unique last name.
Yeah, it's catchy.
But I have to think that you had some type of experience in photography, because not only are you a great director of photography, but you capture fantastic pictures. I mean, fantastic pictures to this day. If you go to Limon's Instagram, which we'll tag in the description and everything.
For sure.
I mean, his photography is amazing. Some of it is done on celluloid, on actual 35 millimeter film.
Stuff.
See, now that makes me believe that you haven't done this for 3 years only, man. Come on.
No. Because
that's what I'm saying. I'm guessing there has to be some type of background in photography as well.
Yeah,
right?
totally. So
I mean, if your background doesn't hint anything, I don't know what would,
Yeah,
no.
Pictures behind him.
Exactly.
For the reason that I said, like, it would be like 3 years. It was has been since 3 years ago. It was a point that I said, you know what, I'm gonna just do films like for life. I'm just gonna do this no matter what. I don't care, like, if I have the money or not, like, to produce and do stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna do it, So that's sort of like the starting point of me saying, like,
films, actual narrative.
This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Life-wise, career-wise, not just
pretty much.
Man, I need to start doing that too, man. Now.
But going back, like, I graduated in 2015. So since I graduated, I started, like, working with a production company, which is no longer here in town. We were doing commercials, like, for local TV.
Sure.
We were doing music videos. Had the opportunity to go and shoot, like, some music videos in Mexico City. And I was, like, just getting... I was doing it. They were, like, not like super low budget commercials, but they were like in
mid-level,
like not mid-level,
kind of mid-level budget. Yeah.
So that's where I started, like, working with the first time with the red camera and all of that.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's pretty much where I started, like, getting my hands on, like,
experience.
But before that, like, when I was in UTEP, I was doing, like, some documentary work. I was working at the Institute of Oral History, and I was in charge of I was at UTEP when UTEP turned, like, 100 years.
Oh, okay,
So,
the centennial.
Yeah, the centennial. On that department, they had, like, a whole bunch of, like, interviews, but just, like, oral, like, audio-wise. So when I got into that department, it was, like, evolving into, like, video production.
Okay.
So another friend, Rodolfo Walks, and me, we were pretty much the ones in charge of all of that. Sure. So that's where I got, like, my hands like dirty, on learning.
Yeah.
And actually, that was where I started, like, working with my first DSLR camera, like the Canon 5D, like the Mark II, when it just, like, barely came out.
Yeah.
So I had that opportunity to work with that camera and learn how to shoot on those cameras. And going, like, even back, like, further, I used to have, like, a Handycam, like a Sony.
Oh yeah, that's how it all starts.
That's how it starts, yeah.
So that's where I did, like, skateboarding, like, videos and stuff
you
like
used
that.
to skateboard? Like,
I used to skateboard, like
He still does. You'll see him on his Instagram.
You actually need skills to video record skateboarding, man, because you need to have, like, the balance to go with it. A lot of people don't get that.
Mark Martinez from Desert People does a lot of videos for skateboarders, and he's got a lot of experience with that too. Shout out to Mark. But
I'm a big fan of those videos. For sure.
You'll see Limon every once in a while still hitting the skateboard on his Instagram.
Oh man, like, it's been, like, 10 years since I haven't done it, and because all of these, I'm like, I should go back to to skating. Yeah, dude, I'm almost 30, and I'm trying like to do like a nollie, and it takes me like forever like to do it and land it. Yeah, so but it's fun. It's fun.
To get a little background from you, Limon, before kind of continuing on your path as a filmmaker, where were you born, and then kind of where did you grow up and all of that? Because I know you spend a lot of time in Juarez, and I think if I'm not mistaken, you currently live in Juarez. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Kind of back and forth, or
right now I'm here in El Paso, but well, here in El Paso and in Juarez, it's
constantly back
and forward.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so I was born here in El Paso, but raised in Juarez. So I have lived like all my life in Juarez.
Okay.
And I started going to middle school here in El Paso.
Okay.
I went to Father Guillermo. I did a high school there too. And
hey, Castro's a Father Guillermo alumni.
I do remember you, man.
Really?
You guys are pretty close in age, so yeah.
¿Cómo?
¿Qué año te graduaste?
En el 2010.
Sí, güey, se hace que tú estabas 1 año o 2 años abajo de mí. Tú estabas bien flaquillo, ¿verdad? Estás bien flaquillo y alto, ¿no?
Pues no sé si ya engordé o estoy flaco, güey.
Sí, no, que me acuerdo de ti. Pero pues estabas más chavo.
I didn't have a mustache.
No nos dejaban.
Sí.
You're hearing it here on the TowerCast first. Castro and Limon.
What a small world, dude.
Yeah. That's the thing about the border, it's everyone knows.
He also had a similar upbringing, and I don't mean to speak for you, Castro, but also kind of born in El Paso, but raised partially in Juarez. You lived a lot of your life in Juarez, and then came back to school over here and stuff like that. So yeah, you guys have a very
a la universidad, me vine al Paso.
Yeah.
Pero yeah. I do remember you, man. I do. That's crazy.
Look at that.
Qué loco.
That's crazy.
Yo no me acuerdo, no.
¿No te juntabas con el... ¿Cómo se llama este chavo? El chaparrillo, el...
¿Gustavo?
Sí.
Simón.
Con la bofa. Sorry, bofa.
Ah, sí. Tú eres de esa generación, entonces.
Sí, güey. Yo era 1 año arriba o 2, me hace.
Ah, arre.
Sí, güey.
That's too cool, man. I mean,
that makes sense.
Yeah. Not surprising, but very cool. These moments always happen everywhere in El Paso and Juarez.
Pero qué bueno, güey.
Sí, qué chido.
So that's awesome, man. I mean, yeah, you're kind of raised mostly in Juarez, and I was just telling these guys before we hopped on about the authenticity in your films of Juarez and the authenticity that you capture about Juarez and El Paso, and especially in La Vida Silenciosa, which we'll get into right now. Yeah. But I think that's interesting, and that's why I wanted to get that perspective, because your sense of photography and capturing. You say you don't have a style, but the first thing I told you when I saw La Vida Silenciosa was, dude, like, it gave me these Y Tu Mamá También vibes. You captured the Juarez side so beautifully. And I remember that's the first thing I told you, and you were like, oh, dude, that's awesome. Obviously those guys are here to us. And we talked about that. But yeah, man, I think that it's in your roots, and it's in your photography, and it's in your cinematography. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Thanks, dude. Thanks. But well, yeah, like the reason that I said that I don't have a style is because I'm still like looking for it. I really like a whole bunch of genres and styles, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I like this thing, but I also like this.
Who are some of your influences?
I gotta ask you the hard question. Who are your top 3 like directors?
Or directors of photography, because I know you're a big DP guys. So
so the first one that I would say, like, my director that influenced me since I was like 16, 17 is Luis Bunuel. That's like the main director that changed all in me,
He's
like a whole new perspective to seeing films and appreciating and telling narrative stuff.
He was from the golden age of cinema in Mexico, really. Yeah. So cinema and TV, and yeah, man, yeah, I can see that in you. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the whole like surrealism movement, the films that he was doing, all of that that really got into me. So
I like to call that era the whatever isn't comedy and drama, the kind of the thriller-esque. I like to call that era like the French New Wave came to Mexico. So you had all of that almost experimentation, but also deep meaning and every single shot and frame you were seeing from Mexican cinema at the time. That's really cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that would be like the first one.
Top dog.
Yeah. The main. Then my second one, that's a tough one, but I would say like Ingmar Bergman.
Ah, beautiful.
Ingmar Bergman. And the third one, man, it's because there's a whole bunch of them. And sometimes I forget like the new directors.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I like that you didn't go with the typical though. That's pretty cool.
No, yeah.
And the third one, man, that's
I'll follow you your whole life, man. Think about it.
that's a tough one, but I don't know. I would say like Robert Bresson.
Oh, okay.
He's a French guy. Also incredible the work that he does. So it just goes like from those guys. Like I'm pretty much naming directors from like the 50s, 60s,
70s. Yeah.
It's a wide range.
I think it's really cool. One of the conversations Limon and I had, and this shocked me too, man, because again, just seeing your style and seeing kind of the typical thing we all jump to. Me, I love Mexican cinema. I remember I was telling you about films like, like obviously Tu Mamá También. Anything from the Three Amigos is pure gold, and especially in
I
America.
still can't watch Amores Perros, dude. I can't watch it.
Yeah.
I just saw it like 3 weeks ago.
Does it still hold up?
Oh.
¿Cómo?
Does it still hold up? Está bueno?
No, it's
Can't watch
amazing.
it, man. Like, I have to watch it.
It's an amazing film.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember
actually this year turned like 20.
Yeah.
It's been 20 years.
Criterion is releasing a special edition for that. I already pre-ordered it because I'm telling you, I love them and I love anything they'll make. But
nice.
I remember getting into kind of the classic era of golden age of cinema in Mexico. I had conversations with Limon about a film called Macario, which is one of my favorite Mexican films of all time. And it's very like, a lot of people don't know it unless you're like deep in cinema in Mexico. But we had conversations about that, and it shocked me too, because I didn't think, Limon's not gonna know that type of stuff, right? He told me, we were talking about a film that we were gonna be working on, and he told me, hey man, on the DP front, you should watch this film, A Woman Under the Influence. And I'm like, wait, John Cassavetes? And he's like, yeah, dude, John Cassavetes, you need to watch A Woman Under the Influence. I'm like, dude, yes, like finally
That's
somebody
cool.
who can talk to me about 70s cinema. Like,
That's cool.
And he told me that, like, yeah, dude, on the DP front, A Woman Under the Influence, to watch this, do this. I mean, I was shocked. I was really shocked because there's nothing like people who love cinema that can go that deep into cinema and say, hey man, this is what you got to watch. And like Castro said, not typically going to, you got to watch Jurassic Park and Jaws and I mean, like you deep into the cinema that we love. I mean, you and Limon and I have had conversations about Federico Fellini, and I could barely talk to anybody about Fellini because nobody cares.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, it's tough for me, like, to say just like 3 directors.
I know.
There's like,
because they all have their styles that come out, and you're like, I want this style for that project, this style for this.
Yeah.
Was there a film for you that like did it as far as like knowing I want to get into cinematography? Because I mean, there's so many different ways you can kind of jump into filmmaking, and some people fall in love with the story, some people fall in love with the acting, but cinematography, it's one of those things that, at least for me, there's a film or something that happened that I knew kind of sparked that passion. But what was that for you? Was there something that happened that you knew that was where you wanted to go?
Yeah, so pretty much as I was saying, when I saw like Bunuel, the first film that I saw from him is Los Olvidados, and that film just it shocked me in a whole bunch of ways. And from there, like, I started just watching a whole bunch of other films, you know.
The Young and the Damned.
It's like when you go from one film, that film like you end like
it keeps
to
it snowballs. It
another
snowballs
one.
until the
Yeah.
next.
and then
That's
so the thing is that yeah, that it was that film. And then since I keep on just like watching films like Kurosawa and a whole bunch
Yeah.
of like great things from like filmmaking filmmakers.
Limon's definition of like film and film appreciation and film love is literally he's the definition of Criterion, dude. Like, if you know anything about Criterion and specifically those types of pictures,
Yeah, pretty much.
do you talk to Limon? Trust me.
Yeah, like
I mean, you already mentioned Ingmar Bergman and Federico Fellini, Luis Buñuel. I mean, these are all artsy filmmakers that kind of come out of that era. Yeah,
pretty much. So something that I haven't mentioned is that I've always wanted like to be like a cinematographer. Like that's like my actually past few months or years that had sort of like changed because I've been like writing and directing too.
Yeah.
Just because of the circumstances of like me wanting to be just like a cinematographer. Like I needed like stories to shoot, you know.
I want to talk about that, Limon, because you and I had a conversation about La Vida Silenciosa, and I remember telling you, man, like, hey, dude, I've worked with you before. I want you to be my DP for this film that we got coming up. I told you, but now I feel weird because you're a very good writer director, dude. I don't want to take you away from that. You're becoming a very good writer director. Like, and you're like, dude, I just directed because I didn't have anything to direct. I just wrote something because I needed to shoot something.
What?
And I mean, that impressed me because I'm like, holy shit. Like you didn't have the story to tell. So you made your own story to tell. And I think that's very impressive, man. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like how your passion and your heart really is in cinematography, but now you're like, well, I'm making these stories the way I want to make them, and I think it reminds me a lot of like Roma, you know, and Cuarón being his own cinematographer and directing the picture because Chivo was busy and couldn't do it, and it's his vision, dude. And Roma is a beautiful picture, and it reminds me of what you're doing. Kind of like, well, I just needed I didn't trust anybody else. I got to trust myself to do this, and I'm jumping into it. And I remember feeling like, oh man, I don't want to take him away from writing, directing because I know he loves DP work, but he's talented at this. I don't want to take him out of that. What's that like for you? Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, so that's when it all started, like 3 years ago. I wanted to shoot like something like so bad. I was like, I want to film something like that. I want to get my hands on like filming something. And that's when I decided like to start writing a script, which it was like my first short film named La Vida Que No Ves. And then the second short film was La Vida Silenciosa, the one that Carlos is mentioning. Yep. So on that first short film, I pretty much like with the help of my friends, of course, but sometimes like some of them they couldn't do it, or you know how you know. So I ended up like doing like producing, directing, shooting, like doing pretty much everything, you know,
on the spot.
And so that short film, it got like into the local film festivals and a few other like minor film festivals around. And so that was sort of like a pretty like something that really motivated me like to write the second one. Yeah. And on the second one, I knew what I did like sort of like wrong in terms of like narrative. Yeah. Because I'm not a script writer, you know. I don't know how to write scripts. Actually, whatever I wrote, I don't write it on the script format because I just pretty much. I ended up like making a script because I need to like give it to my crew and to the actors. But my scripts, my script, no, they're just like a whole bunch of notes and all over the place. Like,
I mean, it worked. It worked. Let's talk about La Vida Silenciosa. I haven't had the pleasure of seeing La Vida Que No Ves as of yet. You got to send me that link, bro, because I know we've talked about it, but. La Vida Silenciosa was the first film I saw of yours, and I was I remember we were talking about it, and it was barely entering its festival run. And I went to the El Paso Film Festival last year to the short films blocks just to see your film. Because I brought my producers, I brought Austin and Eric, and I said, hey, man, like for this film that we're working on, I want this guy as my DP. And they were like, well, let's see his films. And I'm like, well, we got to go to the festival to check out his film. And we saw it and we were all blown away. La Vida Silenciosa, starring Angel Benitez, Jose Benitez, Manuel Urueta, Samantha Corro, to name a few. There's a pretty good chunk of cast written and directed by the great Limon here. Tell us how that story came about, man. What's that story about, and how did it come about?
Well, actually, the way that I approach like stories, most of them there has to be stuff that I know, either that I have lived or that I have experienced. Either like with my friends or relatives. So it's always something that it's been around me.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the whole starting point of how I approach my stories.
Sure.
And I wanted to like to tell something from here, like from where I am. So because I'm you know how the border or Juarez has been like projected in films, like worldwide, like violence, drugs, immigration, all
and
of that.
It's one of the early points you and I agreed on when we had our meetings, that we didn't want to portray. We wanted to stop that narrative. We wanted to stop that narrative of presenting El Paso as narco violencia and a film that we obviously mentioned a lot of Sicario because they shot here and they try to tell that story through that medium. But we wanted to stay away from that because we see beauty and we see storytelling in a much different light here in town from, like you said, when we grow up here and we see the difference. And I thought your film, it was a good advancement in that direction. La Vida Silenciosa tackles this very cool group of friends that all are going through a similar topic and all have a similar mentality, live in Juarez, but come, know about people that come to work or come to school over here to El Paso. And their mentality is a mentality my grandfather had, by the way, is no le den dinero al gringo, no le den dinero al gringo, no vayan pa allá, no, keep it here in Mexico. And it's a very similar mentality this group of friends have. But then one of the friends has a life-making decision of like, well, I'm starting a family and it wasn't quite expected. Do I go or do I not? Do I go find work across the border so I can provide for my family, or do I try to make ends meet here in the struggle? And I thought it was a very interesting topic and very relevant and very, very true to our times and true to our society and true to our culture. I have relatives, I have friends that still live in Juarez and are questioning that every day. Do I go over there? And it's common. It's very, very common here in town.
Yeah. So you said it all. It was just a matter for me just to tell this story that I know, that I'm familiar with, sure. And just to find a way of how to tell it. Because the main character, he's sort of like one of those guys that hates like the United States, he's like, oh no, like fuck that, like I'm not gonna go there anymore. But man, at the end he
and almost like criticizes like the friends that do, and like the relatives of his is like, nah, ese vato ya está ya con el gringo. Like it's kind of like that until
until he has to make a decision, in his life. And so that was what I wanted like to tell,
Sure.
And that's why I named it La Vida Silenciosa, because throughout the entire narrative, you never see, you never hear like what he's thinking, or I never put you like on the face, like this is what it's going on, like by each scene, I'm trying like to tell what it's going on.
And what I love about the cinematography about this film, and the Lao knows this, anybody who's worked with me as a DP knows, I like oneers. I like long takes. I like motion in the camera. And this film had all of that. And it was primarily the reason why I was like, Limon, we got to work on something because that's the cinematography style I love. The film opens in a party and is entirely a oneer. And again, opens very Y Tu Mamá También style of just cold open, conversation with the guy and the girl in the bedroom. And then we see the camera just pull back and see the party and get all this life into the frame. Limon, you know that this is a filmmaker podcast. I want to talk to you about the making of the film, and I would like for you to tell us about the aspects of being your own cinematographer and working with great artists and great actors, like the ones that you worked with, because I thought the performances were something so genuine, something that stood out. Angel did a fantastic job. Manuel, who we've worked with together, is a fantastic actor and did a fantastic job in this picture as well. And the girls as well. I thought they were fantastic. Samantha Corro, I thought she was great. Patti, and I know your lady as well made a small appearance in the film, which was terrific. And she's a musician, and she's very much in the artistic vibe here in El Paso and in Juarez. So yeah, tell us a little bit about the making of and experiencing that for La Vida Silenciosa.
Yeah, sure. So actually, my girlfriend Aranza, she also helped me out on the script writing.
Okay.
Process of it. She also did the score for it, which is not
nice.
There's not a lot of score in the film, but whenever there's a few scenes with score, she made that.
Wow.
Actually it's something we just finished a short film last week that we both did. I'm gonna send it to you guys.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, you can see it.
How long did that one take?
Now that one is a pretty experimental short film.
I like those.
So we shot it in one day. I edited in that same day. Wow. And she did the score because it's just a 5-minute short film.
Yeah.
She did the score for 2 weeks because you will see how it goes. It's
another one of those itch you had to scratch kind of short films.
Yeah.
You just had to kind of go.
A lot of filmmakers right now are needing that. They're just doing these micro shorts, one person, two people, just to get something filmed. It's
pretty much
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty much.
We need to.
So she did the score, and how did you find this cast, man? Because I was telling Castro that these actors, I know a couple of them are your friends and stuff, and I just thought they were terrific.
Yeah, I don't know how the community of actors is over there in Juarez, man. ¿Cómo son los de allá?
Well, it's progressing. There's been a lot of actors, a lot of theater actors.
Yeah.
So
you did this picture in conjunction with Chihuahua Film, right, Limon? And so that you got some help through that and kind of kickstarting that organization as well.
Hey, cool.
Yeah. So most of the crew that it's on this second short film, it's on the first short film.
Okay.
Because pretty much which right now I'm writing the third episode because I'm doing a trilogy of short films. At the beginning, I wanted to tell the story that it was happening within the same time
Universe,
with 3 different actors, different perspectives, but everything happening at the same moment,
Sure.
But because of budget wise, I couldn't afford to do something like that. So I ended up making these 3 narratives. So these 3 guys are shown on the 3 short films.
Yeah.
And I know Manuel from a long time ago because actually I met him 10 years ago, I would say, or 8 years ago. We used to had a collective named 17. So it was a whole bunch of artists, from painters, graphic designers, and we were doing short films and pretty bizarre stuff.
If you know anything about Manuel, shout out to Manuel because he's a very talented artist and paper mache. Does a lot of different stuff. Yeah. His company very cleverly with an X called Chingaderas. It is an art company that does all sorts of different types of things. In fact, him and the company has also done set design and art design in films. And I remember I bumped into Manuel at my job. He was playing the El Paso man. He was performing as the El Paso man, and we bumped into each other and we started talking set design. I had known him as an actor, but he's a very talented artist, and he does a lot. So shout out to him because he's very talented in what he does. Follow his company on Instagram, Chingaderas with an X.
Yeah,
cleverly enough, that's his company. But yeah.
So there's Manuel and then Marco and Angel. Marco and Angel, I have seen them like on another like short films that people have like shoot here around, no?
Right.
So I just approach Marco and Angel. I just like text them, like send them like a message. You know what, guys? I'm doing this short film. I don't know if you guys will be interested in doing this. And then, lucky enough, they said yes. So that's how I met. That was actually the first time that I worked with Marco and Angel. And actually, Angel, which is the main character on the La Vida Silenciosa, his parents, the ones that I show in the short film, are his actual parents.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like that.
So I was fortunate enough that they said yes also to jump on board on the short film. And then Samantha, which actually was his girlfriend.
Okay.
And she's an actress too. Actually, she's in Mexico City right now, making an actress career over there.
I think it's harder in Mexico City. Like I think it's like más presión o algo, no sé.
Yeah, Angel, it's over there too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so by the time the Chihuahua Film Commission was just like starting at the time when I was like when I did my short film, so I approached those guys and asked them like, hey, you know what, like I have this short film. Is there any way you guys can help me out, or is there anything?
Yeah.
Like no.
I was going to say, I think you and I talked about how important that is, because the first thing Austin and I did after making our first short film was, that was hard, and how did we, we did Sun City Lights and we thought this is great and we're in love with it.
Hey, I came out in that.
You did come out in Sun City Lights. You had a supporting role, which is great.
I'm a big diva.
Yeah. And we thought, you know what, man, we got to do this the right way. Why don't we just have a conversation with the El Paso Film Commission and just see what they're like and see what that's like and see what it's about and see what resources they provide. And then lo and behold, Drew has become one of our closest friends and supporters and champions since then. And I remember talking to you about how it's important for you to try to reach out do it the right way, not just do it like, I'm going to treat it like whatever, but try to get all the resources so that you can tell your story the best way it can be. And I mean, going to the film commission in your state is important, right? At the end of the day.
Pretty important, because a learning experience from my first short film, which I did it with no budget at all. I remember I just like paid like 1,000 pesos or something like that to the main guy.
Hey, at least that's pretty cool.
Because I from everyone that is on the short film, that was like the main guy that I needed.
The one that didn't work more.
Of course.
Yeah, so I needed like to be there. That's what I had at the time to pay him.
Yeah.
And for the second one, I was like, oh no, I need to pay like the entire crew. Well, not the entire crew, because the crew were my friends.
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say like,
out.
Yeah.
They helped me out, but
at least the cast.
The cast, yeah. And food for the whole production.
Of course.
So that was something that the film commission in the Chihuahua Film Commission they were not the main source of it, but
Right.
it was like another like identity, like a government
Sure.
identity that I sent them like my entire like binder,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. Your
with
film
the
Bible. Yeah, yeah.
my film bible and an example,
Yeah.
of what I have done in the past. So they helped me out with it was I'm talking like this is and I'm talking in pesos. This
Yeah,
is like
yeah.
nothing, like
Ni pa'
like
los burritos.
nothing.
But at least that's a step in the right direction,
Yeah.
right? I mean, at the very least, it's a step in the right direction so that they can see, hey, man, we helped this guy out. The film, Limon, I have to say, man, again, terrific film. It went on to go to the Plaza Classic Film Festival for the local flavor section, to the El Paso Film Festival 2019, and it went to. I mean, you tell us, Limon, because I know it went to like Morelia. It went to a lot of film festivals in Mexico that are prestigious film festivals.
Yeah.
And Limon, you got to travel over there with this film. Tell us a little bit about the reception, like when you went out there and all the different festivals.
For a
Oh.
second film, not bad, boy.
Yeah, it was I can tell like last year when all of this happened, it has been like one of the greatest years like in my life.
Nice.
Because I had the opportunity like to be in one of the most amazing film festivals in Mexico, which is Morelia Film Festival. And that was like a mind-blowing experience. I also I was part of the Oaxaca Film Festival,
That's right. Yeah.
which is also like it's not a pretty like prestige film festival, but the cool thing about it is that it has like short films and feature films from all over the world.
Yeah.
So it's just like a one week of you just like meeting people, like other filmmakers from other countries. You're talking about what you love the most, which is films. You see films like from super high budget.
I was jealous, man. I was jealous. Limon was telling me about all that, and he was posting stuff on his social media of him partying in Morelia and Oaxaca and just, out there partying with other filmmakers. And I mean, that's the dream, dude. That's the dream, is to connect to other people and meet them. And
and Morelia, which is just like a film festival that it just like on the official competition is just like Mexican films and short films. That's a whole different experience, and it's like super mind-blowing because you're seeing like films from directors from states from the south of Mexico, central Mexico, north side of Mexico.
I want to see that now.
And all of the perspectives that you are just seeing, and the people that you're engaging. And it's something like the culture that you see within Mexican culture in those films, and the people that you get to know. Sometimes, like for example, on the first day, which I wasn't expecting that. Like it was like my first actual like red carpet type of thing, and me and my girlfriend and me, we were there. We were like all nervous, like what's going on? There's like 100 photographers and stuff like that, and you don't know even like how do I pose? Like, what do I do? Like,
just watch faster.
We didn't even walk. We were like running, like
red carpet treatment, man. I mean, and then you were telling me that you got to meet a lot of filmmakers that were also like even a couple of filmmakers that you admired. You were your hero in Mexican cinema that you got to bump into and kind of talk to a little bit. I mean, that's awesome, dude. That's the dream.
It's amazing, and the most amazing thing that I got from all of that is that like my film, that it was like a super low budget film. It was on the official competition, like competing with short films that had like tons of budget. We're talking about short films that are coming out from the most prestigious schools in Mexico City. And they're there, and your film is just like right next to it.
Oh my god!
And whenever you're talking to the other directors, and everyone is talking about the budget that they had for their short film.
Oh my god, man!
You go there and tell them, oh well, I did this for 15,000 pesos. and they're like, what? Like 15,000 pesos?
Hold on, let me convert that.
Yeah, like we did it for 500,000 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
we've had similar experiences, man. We get that because we bump into filmmakers and, oh yeah, man, I had a $30,000 budget, and we're like, dude, we had $3. Like we made it we fed our cast and crew, and that's about it. We kind of shopped favors around everywhere to get done. So but that shows your spirit, man. That shows your spirit that you were willing to get it done without any budget. You were willing to do all of that and go through that experience. And ultimately, you've gone on. I know that La Vida Silenciosa has brought you these amazing experiences that just make you want to make more and more films, and you have. And I want to talk about that a little bit before we run out of time, because I don't want to lose you here, Limon. Yeah. But
damn it, you too.
Also participated in this year's El Paso Film Festival with 2 different films, one of which you were the DP for. And I know you and I, when we were talking, we had the conversation at dinner. You were like, dude, because we were like, hey, man, I've worked with this filmmaker. Do you know this guy? No, I don't know him, but hey, but I know this guy, and have you worked with him? And Limon and I, we couldn't get our schedules right because we were working on a film, and then he was off in Albuquerque working with Bruce Dern and shit like a pro, So over here working with Bruce Dern for a week and a half or whatever it was.
Damn.
And you were constantly driving back and forth to Albuquerque, right? And to
no, it was in cruises.
In cruises. Okay, in cruises.
It's still a drive.
Working with the great Bruce Dern, which if you don't know Bruce Dern, you don't, come on, get with the program. But I mean, Bruce Dern just recently came out on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Tarantino's film.
Oh, Hitchhike too.
Yeah. I mean, Laura Dern, who just won an Academy Award, is his daughter, by the way. But he's over here telling me about the experience and what happened, and he was an AC for this film, and I was like, damn, dude, that's amazing. Congratulations. He comes back, and we're talking about films. He's like, hey, man, I just worked with this guy, James Arrabito, and dude, this guy's doing it, man. Like, this guy's doing it. Like, this guy's doing something really special, and I just helped him with this film. I See a Darkness, and I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty great, man. And he's telling me the experience.
Good title.
That film got into the El Paso Film Festival. Not only did it get in, but it won the El Paso Filmmaker Award at the El Paso Film Festival this year. And he also had and that's a feature film, by the way. The other film you had was Cuarto Oscuro, which is brought by the new kind of, I want to talk to you about TRGAL Producciones and the new kind of collective you guys have there. Yeah, and tell me a little bit about that, man. You worked on these 2 films that are doing great. James Arrabito, obviously, I got to talk to him for the El Paso Film Festival. He's a great filmmaker, and we hope to have him on the podcast pretty soon. But you worked on these 2 other films, man. You kept it going after the success of La Vida Silenciosa. So can you tell us a little bit about these films?
Yeah, and something that I would like to mention right before I jump into those short films is that, like, no matter, like, if like I had the opportunity like to be on those film festivals.
Yeah.
And right now at the moment, it like everything just stays the same. Like you might have had the opportunity to be around all of these people and be on that film festival, but the struggle, it just keeps on happening. But it's just like a motif, and it's an inspiration to just keep going,
That's the way to use that fuel, right? Because if you let it get to your head, it's very easy for us as artists, to allow something to gas us up, to let it get to our heads, but you can't because ultimately you're coming back to the struggle anyways. Hollywood's not going to call you tomorrow and say, hey man, I saw you were at Morelia, come to Hollywood, we got you, you're going to work with Del Toro on this. And, that's not necessarily how it works. You have to come back and start from scratch again to make the next picture, right? So that's a good perspective, for sure.
By saying that, I had this great opportunity of shooting this feature film with James. It was like my first time doing a feature film as a director of photography. We did it for we shot it like for an entire month, not continuously, because we were like just resting like once a week. But it was an experience, man. Like it was like super low budget too. We were able to, James was able, and his producers, they were able to get a hold of a little bit of money to shoot that month.
Sure.
And man, like I learned a lot, and it's funny because actually when we finished, we were like, oh no, like we didn't want it like to finish. We wanted like to keep on going,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing. Well, you're on set, like everyone that it's on set, it turns into a family. You're having a great time.
Now I miss going on set. Damn it.
It sucks. But yeah, that's it was an amazing experience doing that feature film. I can't wait to do another one.
Yeah.
I know James, he has like some other future.
I was a part of the filmmaker panel for the El Paso Film Festival, right? I jumped on and kind of see what's going on, and James was talking about a lot of people were there. Were Anthony Salgado and James and Chris with Save Me and stuff like that. So they were talking about their films, and I thought it was so cool, man, because Anthony's like, yeah, dude, like we want to work with Tower, and we've been talking about working with Tower, and then James is like, you know what, man, I don't really have a set crew, but Limon and the TRGAL guys have kind of become my crew, man. So I'm kind of getting those guys to work with me on my next project, and that made me smile, dude, because I'm like, yes, dude, that's awesome, like more consistency and getting more opportunities that way. And you clearly made a very good impression on James, that you and the crew. And I just thought it made me smile to think, like, when he said, like, yeah, Limon and the TRGAL crew, and I'm like, oh, dude, that's awesome,
which actually, it's funny because a lot of people like are calling it TRGAL, but it's, since I took out the vocals, like the first vocal, it's TRGAL.
TRGAL, okay.
Yeah, so it's
that's
TRGAL.
my bad. Thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah,
thank you for clearing that up. TRGAL, okay. What's that about, man? How's TRGAL come together? I mean, this is very new, to at least to my eyes. TRGAL is very, very new, right?
Yeah. So actually, in my first 2 short films, I wanted like to have like a production company.
Sure.
And I was just right on those short films, I was like placing the TRGAL films.
Okay.
It was just pretty much TRGAL. And TRGAL, if you guys know what a TRGAL is like it's a dust storm, pretty much.
Okay.
And it's a word that a lot of people here from the area say. It's like since we live in the desert, like a TRGAL, it would be just like those days when there's never like completely dusty and stuff like that. So that's where I got the name.
Awesome.
The name from, and so it was, at the beginning, it was just like TRGAL films. But like the people that have been working with Richard, Jerry, Wux, we were like, dudes, we need to make a production company, like it didn't just start like putting out stuff there,
Yeah.
And so Jerry, he was like, okay, like everyone is starting their own production company nowadays by just having a Facebook. That's where we need to start,
He's not wrong, man. I mean, somewhere.
It's not official to it.
It's a step.
I gotta say, I don't know. I met Jerry, and obviously he's become a good friend, man. Like, we kind of just, every time we see each other, we shoot the shit. But, and again, Jerry's the guy that saved our film when we shot for Via's thing. But he's very motivated, man. He's very motivated. He's kind of like, I'd like to put it this in perspective for me. He's like the Austin to you. Like what Austin is to me as a producer, that's what Jerry is to you. I see, like, he's very motivated. He's very much the producer almost. Like, he's wanting to get shit done.
Yeah.
I see that in Jerry a lot.
Pretty much. So that's how we didn't want to just stay with the TRGAL films. Because we just don't want to do like films. We want to do a whole bunch of stuff. So that's why we name it like TRGAL Producciones, like TRGAL Productions.
Yep.
And we have our plans of doing like short films, documentaries, music videos. Not much of a music videos, but just films, experimental.
Right?
Yeah.
Pretty much. So that's what's up with TRGAL.
Awesome. And the first official, I guess, thing, I know, on your YouTube page, you have 2 films on there so far, Cuarto Obscuro, Paso Norte, which is awesome, man. Just the story of them, period. And I remember I asked you, I was shooting something on 8mm film, and I reached out to you and I was like, hey man, I know you guys just worked with this darkroom, this whole thing. Yeah. Where can I get my film developed here in town? And there was this whole conversation I had with you. And I reached out to them and they were able to point me in the right direction too. And I thought, well, like the company you referred me to, and that they kind of pointed me in the right direction. And then the fact that what you shot was turned into a narrative thing was just cool to me, right? Because I know you were kind of early just working with them. And then El Mito del Burrito, which is a micro short documentary aspect type film, which is on the TRGAL Producciones on YouTube. And I think that's really cool, man. And Jerry's right. You kind of, when you have a group of friends, that's how Tower started, man. I remember I told you these stories because you were asking me, like, how are you guys doing this? And what the hell's going on with that? And you were all like if we were doing something special. We're not doing anything special. Just a bunch of kids wanting to make films, right? Yeah. So I told you that. I was like, man, we're just a bunch of friends. We're on the same page about where we wanted the trajectory of filmmaking and storytelling. And there's nothing like doing things the right way, industry standard. And that's kind of our goal, is to make everything that way. And again, that's how we started, man, making a Facebook, making a YouTube, developing content for it. Yeah. And I don't really like that word. I hate the word content, but developing storytelling, opportunities that we tell. And that's
I like
really,
that word. Content.
Really words. You like that word?
It's a portfolio. It's
heavy. It's got some weight to it.
Actually, on our Facebook, there are more stuff that we have been uploading.
Oh, okay, cool.
TRGAL Producciones Facebook. There are like more short films, and talking about the Cuarto Oscuro.
Yeah.
Short film. Actually.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Sorry, that's Google being weird over here.
That's Google.
Cuarto Oscuro Paso del Norte. It's pretty much a dark room where you can go and develop your 35 millimeter stills or medium format. You can, Ricardo, he's like a master of like developing film.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to still photography, he's an amazing photographer. So I'm a pretty good friend of him, and I told him, dude, we should make like a promotion or a commercial for your dark room,
Yeah.
So I came out with this concept of to do this short film.
Yeah.
And actually, for that short film, we didn't have like any script at all. I just have like an idea for it, and I told like the rest of my friends, and then we just got together one night. I told them this is like sort of like the main idea that I have. Everyone started like saying a whole bunch of other ideas. The next day, we were like just getting like customs or whatever we had like in our closets.
Yeah.
We went out and started shooting.
I mean, and this is it feels very Billy Wilder noir-esque detective. It feels like that, and it's exactly what it is. And I thought it was so cool, man. Like, you were telling me about just, hey, yeah, we want to do this thing with the developing of the film, this company, and we want to help them out and do a commercial. And then it turned into a narrative thing. I'm like, oh, dude, that was so cool, dude. That was too
cool. Yeah. I knew the concept that I wanted it and how I wanted to like to shoot it. So yeah, that's what came out. And
awesome. Yeah. I gotta ask you, Limon. I can't have you leave our podcast until I ask you. Not only have you've made your own collective, your own production company with TRGAL, and have made a bunch of short films that you're pushing out, but you've also had the experience of working with various filmmakers here in town. You mentioned Raul Hernandez. I know you've worked with Paco Ibarra. I know you worked with those guys, not just on the Juarez side, but over here on this side, guys like James. You and I have worked together, obviously, and you've got to witness kind of a little bit of the El Paso experience in terms of filming. El Paso, Las Cruces, Juarez experience. What's that like, man? Has it changed since you began filmmaking 3 years ago? Has it developed? Has it done anything for you? Can you tell us a little about the filmmakers and the filmmaking experience here? What's going on in the right way? What's going on in the wrong way? What we got to get better at? What's been your experience with this filmmaking? City.
Well, it's been a learning experience. And what a better way than doing it from the place that I'm from,
Yeah.
and working with people that are from here.
Sure.
You know, I used to have this mentality of going somewhere else and starting there, which is not a bad idea, because you can get like a whole bunch of experience.
Sure.
And if in your plans you wanted like to come back and do like teach the rest of the people in town on how to do all of that, that's amazing, you know.
Yeah.
And I think like El Paso and Juarez is going in the right direction, you know. It's there's always more people with cameras, there's always more people like creating content, if it's not like commercial stuff, music videos, narrative stuff. People are creating, you know, and they're producing stuff. And totally, I have seen a progress from a lot of us. And by me saying us is like talking about you, Carlos, and Tower. We're learning and we're growing, you know.
Yeah.
And that's and as much as we keep on doing it, as much as we practice more and more, we're gonna get better at it, you know.
I'm a big believer of that.
And I just love how you say just the community, you know. You like, we all had that idea at one point or another of thinking, let's go over there, let's go to Los Angeles, Austin, and all that. But there's something about feeling like I made a film in my city, and like it started here, it was raised here, the story came from here. That just I guess adds to that kind of special feeling that you're talking about, you know.
And something to add is like whenever you're working with your friends, who you get along, who you understand each other, who you have the same taste for cinema or the type of films that you want to do, you're going in the right direction. Because eventually, if you keep on doing it, you're gonna end up with a feature film, with a short film on a big film festival. You never know, you know, like you just gotta keep that consistency, and eventually, from out of the 10 things you're doing, one.
Yeah.
Oh, he's talking like us, man. That's
absolutely. That's why I wanted to connect with Limon, not just for this podcast, man, but I'm telling you, the moment we met, I knew this guy. This guy was a guy from the tribe, you know, a guy of the tribe, because we all have that mentality, man. I say it on this podcast all the time. Rodriguez has this very amazing quote where he says, you know, you have 10 bad films in you. The sooner you get those films out, the sooner your films are going to be better, you know, and I find that to be true. We made 20 just to be safe, you know, just to get 20 bad films out. And now we got, you know, no, but I say that in the sense that you're absolutely right, man. The number one thing people have told us, and you told me this, and I was so grateful when you told me, Limon, that the number one thing people see in Tower 20, which, by the way, I'll say right off the bat, they're not just my films in the slightest. I made maybe 8 of those 20. All the awesome filmmakers in Tower, the number one thing we see from the production side that I've heard from you guys, from people who have seen the films, is that there's been a progression. From film 1 to film 20, you see a progression. And that matters to me more than anything in terms of these short films, dude. Like, yes, each story is individual and each story is important to us and we care about each film. But to hear, hey, man, I saw your 20 films and there's this progression. And, dude, that means the world to us, because that's the goal, is the more you do it, the better you get. And hopefully, you know, it helped us when we made our feature film. We did it backwards. We did a short film, a feature film, and then 20 short films. So don't do that, people. You know, but now the feature films we're working on, and I mean, all the films we have in development and the projects we have in development, we know what to do. We know the right and the wrong things. And just like you, Limon, you go out of town, you go to sets to learn, and then you say, oh, you know, I got to be an extra for a film, a big Hollywood picture with with Thor, you know, Hemsworth. And I did it just to learn what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. That's the only reason I went. I'm not an actor. Extras. I have so much respect for extras now, because it's a shit show, man. It's a bad job. It's a bad. I did 15. You do sometimes you do 15 of just sitting around, and they encourage you, bring a book, because you're just gonna be sitting around waiting to see what happens for
however
long.
Better.
No signal, telephone's not allowed on set, what have you, So I did it for the sense of, you know what, man, what are we doing right and what are we doing wrong on our set? Yeah. Let me bring that back to my sets and say, hey guys, what's industry standard? What are we missing? No. And I think you had that experience too, right, Limon?
Yeah. I had the experience to work on this feature film named Dead in Texas.
Yeah.
And the Bruce Dern is in it. It was a great experience because I was working like with the gaffer that worked on Pulp Fiction. Yeah. He did like he worked with David Lynch, with a whole bunch of great people in the industry, like the one of the producers and one of the ADs. They work on American Beauty. So I was like surrounded with super experienced people.
Yeah.
That when I was there, like I was the second AC.
Yeah.
And there were a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't knew,
Yeah,
it was like my first time actually like working with a whole bunch of equipment.
Yeah.
They were like telling me, "Oh, bring me this." I was like,
and you don't want to sound dumb, huh? So you're like,
yeah, like, what the fuck is that?
I remember you told me the story, man, that when you guys were setting up, that you were like, dude, this is how crazy this experience was. You guys were setting up and you had a room where all the equipment was at. And then the guy's like, hey, you know what? Bring me this. And you go to the room to get it. And you see like 3 or 4 red cameras just laying around. Oh. I mean, all the dream lenses you could dream of, just everywhere laying around, So you were like, oh, yeah, backup on backup on backup, right? In case you're shooting in the desert and one camera breaks. Well, you got 3 more on the digital side. But everything's at your disposal. And again, you're just, as ACs, as PAs, as grips, you're just handing people things and you're just kind of taking care of camera when they're not around. But it teaches you something, right? I have to imagine it.
Yeah, totally. So that was something that really set me in a direction of being that we always have a whole bunch of stuff to learn.
Yeah.
That the learning process in filmmaking is never gonna end.
Sure.
Because there are like always like new tools. There are always new ways of how to do films.
Yeah.
And I hope people start like try to approach films in like in a different way. Right. I know there's been a book, like a Hollywood book, that says like how to do films, but sometimes you gotta like throw that book away and say, I'm gonna do it my own way. It might work, it might not, but you did it.
You did it your way.
Yeah.
And on that note, Limon, we have this thing called Word of the Day that we have to do with you before. I know you've seen the podcast. I know you're expecting it. That Mr. Delao is going to present to us right now.
Word of the day.
Give him a tough one, man. He knows too much.
He knows too much. We'll see what I can get. So word of the day. We have this segment for our guests so we can expand our vocabulary, our knowledge.
Hey, you can't Google, No Google.
No Google.
As filmmakers, as communicators, so, Limon, your word is perseverate.
Perseverate. I think I know that.
Perseverate.
I have no idea. Like,
yeah, me neither, man. That's like 3 words in one, dude.
Yeah.
Too much for me.
Just call him a pervert, Delao. That's not what we have.
Perseverate. I don't know. Does have to be like preserving?
Yeah, give us a hint.
Okay. So preserving. You could kind of roll with that a little bit.
Preservative.
If you want to roll with if you want to know the definition, it's to repeat or reoccur persistently. So
okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Preserving. Yeah. Perseverate. Limon, I mean, you're popping up everywhere. Like, I feel like, I don't know if it's just my Facebook or what, but like, you're always on there. You're always on some set.
The algorithms, man, he's popping right now.
I'm excited to see what comes next. I mean, it just sounds like some great things are going to be coming out of your company. It sounds like you got some exciting projects lined up, and you're definitely persisting in the city and persisting in the filmmaking community, and I'm excited to see what kind of comes next and what develops from here. Yeah.
Thanks, man. I think we are all doing a whole bunch of great stuff. with whatever we have.
Yeah.
And that's something that sometimes in this community or in the film industry, sometimes we want to work with the best camera, with the best lighting, with all of this, but at the end, trust me, like if you have a good story, you can shoot it like with your phone.
Good story.
Yes.
You can shoot it with
and good audio, and you'll be fine. You know.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and also something that which is strange. It's like when I did my second short film, I didn't have no clue. I didn't have like any expectations of what was going to happen with it. Right. I just knew I wanted to do it, and I just started like sending it to film festivals. Like I don't know if it's going to get into it or get into the film festival or not. And you don't know what can happen.
Exactly.
So just do stuff just for the sake that you love it. And
just film.
I was gonna ask you, Limon, like if you had any words for filmmakers, but those are it, man. I think that's beautiful way to kind of wrap that up, because if you love it, do it, man. If you don't love it, you're preaching to the choir, Limon, and I, in the sense that I am also a big advocate of those two things. If you're not doing it because you love it, don't do it at all. Number one. Number two, if you're not working with the people you like to work with, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to have a really bad time. So I've been grateful to work with the crew that I work with, because the Tower guys are fucking amazing, man. And then they're the best crew ever. And I see that rapport with you and the TRGAL guys. And I see that friendship and I see that vibe, man. What's really cool is like when I see you guys together, man, it makes me want to hang out with you guys. Like it makes me want to be part of that vibe, because you guys
are passionate, dude.
You know? So it's that vibe, man. And I think filmmakers need to learn those two important things. So thank you, Limon. De Lao, Castro, do you guys have anything for Mr. Limon before we sign off here?
I wish we had another hour, but damn it, our limit.
I know, man.
You know what, Castro? I already remember you. John Castro. I remember.
Era ese sangrón de básquet, güey.
No, pero me acuerdo que ¿cómo se llamaba la prefecta?
¡Ey! Estamos grabando, güey. Estamos grabando, carnal.
Now I remember.
Okay.
La perfecta. I want to hear this. I'll get us another hour just to hear this.
We're recording. Talk after.
No, but look, guys. You know, Limon, like I said, he's part of the tribe, man. He's one of the guys that gets it, and I'm excited to like the Lao said, to see what comes next. From Limon and from his company and his collective. But I'm selfish, and I'm also excited to work with Limon on some capacity. I know we've talked about some projects, and I hope we get to one of these many projects that I need you as my DP on, man. I've talked to you about this.
To work with you guys.
Yeah, man. We got to bring the Tower and the TRGAL guys together, man, and make something happen. I've talked to you about it. I've talked to Manuel about it. And Jerry's the only one we haven't talked in a little while, but we got to make it happen, man. We got to make it happen.
Yeah, sure. Count on that.
Awesome. Well, that about does it for these towering filmmakers. Thank you all for tuning in. We had the great Genaro Limon here and talked about his terrific work that he's done as a cinematographer, as a director. And I can't wait to see the amazing. You're going to see this guy's name in lights. I promise you that. You're going to see this guy's name on a big production. Pretty soon. So keep your eye out for his work. Apart from the TRGAL Facebook and YouTube, anything else you want to plug, Limon?
No, I think we also have the Instagram, also TRGAL Producciones. And we're trying to do a whole bunch of stuff with this new normality, which is crazy, but
hey,
we're trying. We're trying.
Somehow. I hear you, man. I hear you. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Limon, for being on, man, and for being a friend, brother. I mean, we love your work. We love what you do. We love your attitude about it. And we can't wait to work with you pretty soon. All right?
No, thank you. I really appreciate what you guys are doing. Keep on doing it.
Cool deal. Make sure to keep listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, anywhere you listen to podcasts, we're on it, every single podcast platform. If you're seeing us on YouTube and Facebook, please make sure to share. I hope you're enjoying the view. And we want to thank all the filmmakers that are tuning in, man. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment below if there's something that we need to talk about or someone we need to introduce on this show. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.
Love you guys.
Hey.